Joining us now is Republican Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana. He is on the Judiciary Committee. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning, Alisyn.
What do you think of your colleague, Senator Flake's ultimatum there?
Well, it's Senator Flake's prerogative to do that. I don't agree with him. Jeff's one of my favorite people, but I don't agree with this legislation. Number one, I think it's unconstitutional, but more importantly, I don't think it's necessary. I have seen no overt acts by anyone to try to either fire Mr. Mueller or interfere with his investigation. I don't think he should be fired. I would like to see him wrap it up and report to the American people, but all of this is based on pure speculation. It might happen. It could happen. We're worried that it's going to happen. That's not the basis, in my judgment, on which to pass a bill that at best is marginally constitutional.
Well, some people would say it's based on signs and storm clouds gathering. And here's one example of that. This morning's tweet from just a few minutes ago from the president. He says, the inner workings of the Mueller investigation are a total mess. They have found no collusion and have gone absolutely nuts. They are screaming and shouting at people, horribly threatening them to come up with the answers they want. They are a disgrace to our nation and don't care how many lives they ruin. These are angry people, including the highly conflicted Bob Mueller, who worked for Obama for 8 years. They won't even look at all the bad acts and crimes. On the other side, in caps, a total witch hunt like no other in American history. Does that suggest to you that the president is ramping up his anger about this?
One of the things I've learned in 22, now almost 23 months in Washington is that people up here like to talk. You've got to watch what they do. The president has demonstrated acute frustration with Mr. Mueller's investigation. I'd probably feel the same way if I were in his shoes. But I know of no overt steps that he has taken to obstruct the investigation or to fire Mr. Mueller. And given the way that people leak up here, I think we would have heard, Alisyn.
Well, I understand that, Senator. But I mean, what people would say is that you are being too reactive instead of proactive. By the time if the president were to fire Mueller, it would be too late. And so what your colleagues are saying is let's do something now to protect Mueller before it's too late.
Well, I heard Senator Coons this morning on your show, and that's a clever argument. I just don't agree with it. If President Trump were to fire Mr. Mueller, I think you would see a sharp and immediate reaction from the United States Congress. I think President Trump knows that. He's an intelligent man. I don't think he's going to fire Mr. Mueller. I've seen no indication that he's going to fire Mr. Mueller.
Yeah, but
I think he doesn't like Mr. Mueller, and he's not happy being investigated. But I'm not sure I wouldn't feel the same way.
Well, just play that out for me. So if he were to fire Mueller, what's that sharp reaction from Congress that would be effective?
I don't know exactly what the instrument would be, but I think Congress would take steps to make sure that the investigation is completed. Not because of anything President Trump did or didn't do, because of the American people. Serious allegations have been raised about the sanctity of our electoral system, and they've got to be addressed. And Mr. Mueller's been at it for 16 months. I hope he'll bring it to a conclusion, and I hope he will report directly to the American people. The American people are smart enough to figure it out for themselves. If somebody did something wrong, indict the hell out of them and prosecute them.
And what if
let's bring it to a conclusion.
Fair enough. What if Matt Whitaker, who's now in charge of overseeing the Mueller investigation, doesn't want the results to be released to the public? How could they be released to the public?
I think Congress could take action there. I would certainly support legislation to make it public, but I've seen no indication that the acting attorney general has taken that position. I've heard a lot of speculation. I'm not saying it's not well-intentioned or people don't believe it, that Mr. Whitaker might do this and might do that. And so far, to my knowledge, he hasn't done any of those things. And I just think we ought to give the man a chance, give him a chance to find the men's room at least before we start saying he's doing a lousy job.
Well,
but that's just my opinion.
Well, look, what's given people pause about Matt Whitaker is that he's been a vocal critic of the Mueller investigation and the scope of the Mueller investigation. So it's not like people are making it up out of whole cloth. He's on the record as saying that he's a critic of the Mueller investigation.
Right.
Does that give you pause about him?
Well, certainly what words matter. But I have, again, not to repeat myself, I've learned in Washington, D.C., people talk a lot. What counts is what they do. And I know he's been critical. He made some comment, he meaning Mr. Whitaker, made some comments about Marbury versus Madison that I don't agree with. There are a lot of things people say that I don't agree with, but I try to watch what they do before I take affirmative action. And honestly, Alisyn, I haven't seen anything done by anybody in this administration to try to impede Mr. Mueller. I have seen the president and others be critical of his investigation, but, you know, this is America. You can believe and within reason say what you want.
Yeah, I mean, I think that one of the things that has just raised some antennas this morning is the wording of President Trump's tweet where he says the inner workings of the Mueller investigation are a total mess. How does he know that? They have found no collusion and have gone absolutely nuts. How does he know that? They are screaming and shouting at people, horribly threatening them to come up with the answers they want. How does he know that?
I don't know the answer to that. As we've talked about before, I've suggested that the president respectfully that tweeting a little less would not cause brain damage, but he likes to tweet. That's his prerogative. He's going to keep tweeting.
No, I know. I mean, I'm just asking.
Tweeting's a long way from firing somebody or obstructing justice.
I get it. It's not the tweet. It's that there's a suggestion that Matt Whitaker may be sharing some information since he's now overseeing the Mueller investigation, maybe sharing it with someone who is the subject of the investigation.
And if we get evidence of that, I will be the first to take action. But we don't have any evidence.
Senator John Kennedy, we appreciate, as always, your perspective. Thanks so much for being here.
Happy Thanksgiving, Alisyn, to you and John.
Thanks so much. You too, John.